A few years ago my 7-year-old niece, DN for Dulling niece, was placed in hospital for congenital heart defects. Family from all over the place came down for support, and since I was the favorite aunt, that went without question that I'd be there. The surgery went smoothly, but for the next few days, when she had to recover in the ICU, and we were given explicit instructions to disinfect before entering the room. Mostly everyone followed the rules, but here comes in my aunt-in-law, L, and her husband, H. I happened to be the only one there, because I agreed to stay behind and give DN company as everyone else goes to the cafeteria to eat. Me, oh hey L and H, how are you? H, hey momo girl, looking better than ever. Me, I completely ignore his comment. I didn't see either of you use hand sanitizer as you walked in here. DN just had open heart sir. L, momo girl don't be so uptight. We just wanted to see DN. Ale moves over to DN who looks very uncomfortable, and I get up from my chair to put myself between Ale and DN. I finally notice that Ale has a runny nose and a slight cough. Me, are you sick Ale? I can't let you near DN if you are. Ale, oh don't worry it's just the flu. The doctor said I will be fine to see DN. H, yeah sweetheart just let my wife see DN. DN all this time is telling them to go away, and they wouldn't listen. So I run up to the desk and tell them there are people with the flu trying to see DN. The people stationed there immediately ask Ale and H to leave, but not without Ale calling me a prude bitch while she was at it. DN made a full recovery and is now a very active kid. So it's a happy ending for mostly everyone. So I got a phone call today that reminded me of this. You'll see why I'm so annoyed. Obligatory on mobile and all that. I, F22. Love animals. So do my parents. But with finishing college and trying for a big girl job, pets aren't really an option. But my parents have a pond in their yard, and I talked them into getting koi fish. My dad and I love them dearly, and they've been thriving since we bought them last year. I live close enough to visit to and help out. They are cute buggers. So, the story. Our neighbor isn't in the best health, and we help out when we can. During the summer her granddaughters will come and stay with her. One is 13 over 14 now. The other is young, under 10 but over 5. Old enough to know better. Well when they stay with her we have occasionally helped out, entertaining them or even inviting them to dinner. I go for free food occasionally lol. Our neighbor, the entitled grandparent or EGP has heard about our fish adventures. They were new around this time and nervous around us, but my dad and I were patient and kind. So they were finally coming up towards us on their own. We were excited, and you should have saw how happy it made my 60-year-old dad when one ate out of his hand. So we had been bragging. EGP's granddaughters came over the next week. The youngest child, upon hearing of the fish, decided she wanted to see them. EGP asked if it was alright. My dad and I were out there getting ready to feed them, so why not? The girl comes over. All was fine. She was giggling at the fish and pointing at them. My dad was about to feed them when he offered her some food to throw. This made the girl even more excited. But if it ended here, I wouldn't have a story. The girl decided that food wasn't good enough. So she went over to one of our garden beds, where we have slightly big rocks, grabs them, and proceeds to throw them at the fish. I had been putting the food away at the time. All I heard was my dad go no, you'll hurt them. I come around the corner of the little storage container and see the EGP bright red yelling at my dad. The girl had stopped after the first rock and my dad was trying to tell her why it was bad. But the EGP was livid. My dad couldn't get a word in. The EPG couldn't believe he would scare and startle her grandbaby like that over some fish. My dad did not raise his voice. My dad is a big baby. The girl was still giggling and laughing at this time. They're just some fish. The EGP said. My dad stayed calm and told her to leave, that even if they were just fish they were still living creatures that we care for. EGP stormed off, giggling granddaughter in tow. She didn't talk to me or my parents for a month. And now today, I get a call from my mom. EGP had texted her about bringing the grandkids over to play with the fish. My mom luckily stood her ground, but called me upset. Why? EGP just couldn't believe we'd deny her grandchild the right to torture our fish. Sorry lady, not happening. Also, it looks like my dad's trail cam is being moved to the pond. This is actually a story about my mother and sister. My sister's grown up to be a complete moron that I have no love for. I cannot tolerate stupidity, nor a lack of willingness to learn, or to even try. For reasons that I honestly feel weren't her own fault. The official reasoning was that on a coloring assignment, she had colored Fred Flintstone blue and colored outside the lines. That alone should not hold a child back a year, but for my sister it did. She had already been held back in the first grade, putting a 2-year gap between us in school. I graduated high school in 2003, and after a few months waiting out the delayed entry program, shipped off to military service in January 2004. My sister was originally set to graduate in the class of 2005, but when her senior year wrapped up she didn't have enough credits and was held back another year. At the end of the year in 2006, she still didn't have enough credits and was held back again. Come December 2006, my sister turned 20 and was booted out of high school. The school system we went to considered a credit to be one class for a full year and had enough slots to give students 6 classes each year. So, 6 credits a year were possible, making a 4-year commitment give up to 24 credits. Our school required a minimum of 20 credits to graduate, and after getting booted from school in the middle of her 3rd senior year my sister had a whopping 9 credits. I found all of this out when my mother called me, angry as hell, and demanding why I wasn't doing my sister's math homework. Not helping her do her homework, but doing it for her. I reminded her I was on the other side of the country, in the military, and had been for nearly 3 years at this point. Before I hung up on her, I asked my mother why my sister couldn't be bothered to remember anything from her 6 attempts taking freshman math, or why my sister's academics were my responsibility and not her own. It doesn't end here, folks. Due to my words, my mother called up my commanding officer and demanded I take leave to come home to take a JED test for my sister. Yes, she actually used those words. I found out the day after, when I had a meeting with the entirety of my chain of command to explain the situation. Thankfully, nothing came of it, though my co did commend me for trying to get away from them when I joined. Okay, so a couple of years ago I was diagnosed with laryngeal cancer, but I'm currently in remission, and a year and a half ago I had surgery on my throat. This left a scar which can be scary as I look a little bit like I've had my throat slit. I also have another scar just below from a traction. My speech is no longer 100%, so it's a bit off-putting. I'm kinda assuming that people understand the abbreviations and how this usually goes. This happened a few weeks ago. I'm currently 19. I'm a girl, and I volunteer in the pediatric ward in the cancer center. I generally entertain the kids and support them if they're having a rough time, which as you can imagine is not uncommon. I also answer any questions they have about my experiences. A few weeks ago, a woman comes in with her kid, who are there to see a family member. As usual, I was spending time with the kids, and the woman's kid, not an entitled brat thank God, comes over and asks about my scar, and started telling me that it looked cool, and that I must be proud of my battle scar. I answer his questions, and chuckle at his drastic views. Once he's asked all he wants, he rushes back to his mother, who was talking to another woman. This is RM. She walks over to me, and looked like I'd just keyed her car or something, so I excuse myself from the young kids I was sitting coloring with. When she reaches me, she glares before the accusation inevitably came out. You shouldn't be promoting that bullshit. Me, I'm sorry, I'm not following. There are children in pain, sick and dying in here. How could you think it's okay for you to pressure them into your cultish perversions? Is cultish a word? IDK. It's one thing to be a Satanist, but bearing a devil's mark in front of kids. Have you already lost your humanity? By this point I was getting frustrated and tried to cut in and explain what was happening, but she cut me off. No, not a word from you. I will not let you taint me with your lifestyle choices. Why are you even lurking in a children's cancer ward? I want you off the premises. How dare you? She leaves with no explanation, but I could almost scream as I saw her walk over to one of the security guards. The SG walks over. I want this woman taken off of the hospital grounds. She has snuck in here to spread her poisonous beliefs into the kids' minds. SG looks unsure and thankfully asks me my side. I politely explained to him that I'm a patient at the adult ward and also a volunteer worker with the children. I also show him my visitor's badge. I then have to explain that the scar on my neck isn't from a cult and actually a surgical scar. The SG then tells M that she can either get on with her business and leave me alone, or she will be the one escorted out. The M resigned and walked off, and I assumed that was it, but she came back later with a different security guard and told the same BS and tried to pass off the picture of roses I was helping a girl draw off as satanic symbols. Thankfully the original SG notices and M is told to leave. The rest of my day was fan-fucking-tastic, so, and that is my r/entitled parents story. Did you enjoy this video? Leave a like and subscribe to Brody for more.